What's going on, y'all, man? Welcome back to the RGTV show. This is episode number 7. Soon, I'm gonna have like no more hands to count on, no fingers at least. But we here with my man. Well, y'all know the drill. I ain't even gonna tell you his name. The first segment of RGTV is called Who Is. So, sir, tell us who you are. What is your name? Who are you?
My name is Ian Moran. I'm a guitarist, a bassist, a drummer, producer, and a player of the synthesizer.
That man is a musician, is basically what he said. If you didn't get it, he's a musician. I personally can attest to it because I've heard him play, and we'll get to that later. But all right, so Ian, just tell us a little bit about your craft. I mean, are you you said guitarist first, so is that your main instrument?
I began playing guitar when I was about 12. I very much was influenced by the band Nirvana. Back in the day, I found a Nevermind cassette with the baby on it and shit. It smells like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
So I basically needed to have a guitar at that point, and I picked it up, watched a couple VHS tapes about how to play the guitar, and then just practiced up until now.
Nice. So 12 years old. So most people would consider that kind of late. I mean, if you think about it, 12, you figure you're kind of already into, what you're doing. So, and that's just how old are you right now?
25.
So you're 25 and you started at 12, so you've been playing about 12, 13 years. I mean, that's impressive because like I said, and we will get to that, I've heard them and, dude is the truth. So along with the guitar, you mentioned some other instruments. Tell us kind of how you got involved in other instruments and what made you want to expand out.
Basically, being a musician has allowed me to play with a lot of other different musicians, and there's always a different kind of need for different instruments. So I've played in bands as a bassist, as a drummer, I've done the synthesizer, and in my own time, I like to produce and make music from scratch on the computer.
Nice. Jack of all trades is what they say, I believe. What is your favorite instrument to kind of get into outside of your main instrument, if I can call it your main instrument, that being the guitar? Like, what do you say out of every instrument you've taught yourself how to play? What do you find the most, gratitude out of, what other instrument?
It's very difficult to answer that question for sure, because no matter what I'm playing, if I'm feeling what I'm playing, it's just an experience that's the best. And it's hard to put like this is better than that kind of scenario on there.
That's a real musician's kind of response. I'm a percussionist. I'm sure, you've seen on previous episodes I've said that before, but I play the drums. And, along with playing the drums, I mean, piano is considered a percussion instrument, but I also, kind of sort of taught myself how to play piano. I've never got into any string instruments or anything like that, but I can kind of relate when you say it's equal. That joy, that feeling you get when you're in the groove, when you're in the zone. It's just, it's go time. So I definitely can relate to that. And really quick, what was like what really made you want to do it? I know you said, you watched, tapes and, you kind of watched and learned, but what made you want to get into it?
Well, growing up, going back to Nirvana, for example, Kurt Cobain was a big inspiration to me. He was somebody who felt alienated by a lot of other people, and he really expressed himself through his music. And I very much admired that. And I myself wanted to express myself in a way I didn't know how. So I gave guitar a try, and I soon started to figure out that was the way to do it.
Man, listen, Kurt Cobain is actually, I mean, obviously we all know it didn't necessarily end well for him, but he was extremely, he was kind of like, I don't want to call him I don't want to discredit him and not call him a pioneer, but I do want to say that, him as a musician, the passion that he played with, and what he was able to do in terms of changing, the style and opening up people's ears and minds to accept, what he was playing. He did a lot. And, some people don't necessarily get the credit they deserve while they're alive. And, I at least want to say that about him. So it's interesting you say his name. Listen, man, we got a lot coming up with Ian, but for now, we're going to take a small break. You're tuned into the RGTV show. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the RGTV show. You just heard a few tunes from this good brother I'm sitting next to, Ian, and hope you enjoyed it. So we got into a little discussion off air, and we were just talking about him growing up and being into music. So just tell me, like, you mentioned Nirvana, but were there any other artists or any other groups or what were your favorites growing up first, and then some of your favorites now?
Growing up, I was into a lot of other hard rock, such as System of a Down, Chop Suey, Toxicity, stuff like that. Also, in like middle schools into Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, the new metal, stuff like that.
Who didn't like them? Like, who didn't?
There was so much energy and there was so much angst, and it was so popular at the time, and it was something that's interesting because nowadays there's no real popular music that's that heavy anymore. So growing up around that time gave me a real heavy foundation. And when I got to high school, I started getting into bands such as Thursday and the Number 12 Looks Like You, which are both actually New Jersey bands that played a lot of local shows around here. And I got a lot of inspiration seeing these bands play live. They put all the energy they had into these shows, and all the fans had the same energy. So it was just incredible.
It's interesting you say energy and, just speaking of live shows, because, one thing I connect with is certain artists who have a fan base that's loyal to them. You may have someone, like obviously a Jay-Z who's, he's international, he's broad, and a lot of people like him from all over the world. So he can sell out arenas, he can sell out stadiums. But then you have, some artists who've still been doing it, a long time, like say maybe a Currency, who has a very loyal fan base. It may not sell out stadiums or, anything like that, but any show you go to, it's sold out, and everybody in there is an A-alike because everybody is just, those are the type of people that he brings to his shows. So, I like that about, going to concerts and then even just being a part of performing myself. Just, that's something I want to establish as an artist. Just having a loyal fan base that they know what they're going to get and they're coming specifically for that, so it's interesting you mentioned that. And so now, are there any artists or what's on your iPod? What's on your phone? What's on your laptop? What are you listening to?
Currently, I'm listening to a lot of an artist called Aphex Twin. He's a producer from the UK, and he's been making electronic music for 2 to 3 decades now. And he basically pushes boundaries as far as production is concerned with percussion programming and arrangements, and just pretty much doing what he feels fit and just releasing it on his own time frame. That's just an artist that's purely into innovation and always has been, and just released an album recently too.
Right, and doing what he wants to do as an artist, because I've said this before, but I believe that especially when we start talking about mainstream success, it's a certain box, it's certain boundaries that they don't want you to go outside of, because they want you to stay in the grid. And as an artist, you never want to be told you can't do something. You always want to have the freedom to do whatever it is that you feel is right. Music is about feeling. If it feels right, then it's right. You can't, someone can't tell you that it's not right. So I'm not familiar with, what was his name again?
Aphex Twin.
Aphex Twin. I'm not familiar with him, but now I'll look him up and look into him just for that fact, because that's something that I personally connect to. So but anybody else?
I'm also listening to A$AP Ferg.
A$AP.
That song Shaba is amazing. I literally listen to it like once a day, and it gets stuck on my head. It's just infectious.
That's a good workout song to get your weight up. Definitely, like you get your weight up to that joint, because if you can't get hype off of that, then I don't know, something wrong with you. For sure.
Great song, love it. It's a future classic.
Definitely. So listen, obviously, you're a musician, so one could only assume that you've done live shows and live gigs.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about when you started, how it was, how that experience was. Tell us a little bit about that.
The first live performance I've ever been a part of was in 8th grade at a dance, and me and my friends had to ask the principal in the principal's office if we could play a show, and we were going